I'll tell you, the crowd is eating this one up. It's Norman Frederick Charles III against the Dynamite Kid. We're at the 5-minute mark. And the Dynamite Kid has done some gymnastic-type things that have put Charles in a knots in the opening 5 minutes. And it has been just a classical gas. Incredible. I hope he shows you some more right here. Little bit of a maneuver there. This guy is really something. Oh, he has had Norman Frederick Charles feeling like a pretzel in a pretzel factory. Doing anything he desires with him. Twisting him, spinning him, throwing him. The Dynamite Kid, a sensation from England, against the man from down under, Norman Frederick Charles III. Look at him work. Look at him move. Isn't he something? Charles doesn't know what's town. As a matter of fact, he's almost on Strange Street. Mind you, that for him, that's a pretty short trip, isn't it? And away we go with another edition of the Stampede Wrestling Show.
Let me tell you good people something, and you beer belly sharecroppers out there.
Well, he takes me to the movies, we go strolling in the park, watch the late show on TV, he holds my hand in the dark, he's a ring-a-ding-dong dandy. He's a ring-a-ding-dong dandy.
Just a minute, what's going on here?
So it's buys me fancy candy, he's a ring-a-ding-dong dandy, and he's mine.
We're going to have a little knockin'. Well, hi, everybody. As the old saying goes, batten down the hatches and lock the door. It is indeed wrestling time once more.
Hello wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Ring-a-Ding-Dong Dandy podcast. Today we've got a, you may say, dynamite star on our podcast, and we're going to be concentrating on the early career of Dynamite Kid in some of our clips. The clip you heard at the start of the podcast was within 1 month of Dynamite Kid's debut in Stampede Wrestling back in 1978. That was against Norman Frederick Charles III, and as you can hear from the reactions in the crowd, Dynamite was already a huge star at this point. We have to acknowledge that Dynamite Kid passed away a few years ago at the age of 60 on the same day as his birthday. Dynamite Kid, or Tom Billington, as he is otherwise known, was born on December 5th, 1958 in Goulburn, England. Dynamite Kid grew up in a family of fighters, and he was extremely young when he started to actually train in professional wrestling. Ted Betley took him in at the age of 13, and so obviously he would have been extremely small, very thin at that time, but over the next few years he became established as a legitimate star in the United Kingdom. Now, it was in 1978 when Bruce Hart was visiting what's called joint promotions in the UK and met up with Dynamite Kid and convinced him to make a try over in Calgary. This is a big move. I mean, at the time, Dynamite was still a teenager, and so you have to think about moving all the way across the world to start in professional wrestling with a group of people you really don't know. However, Dynamite Kid's splash in Stampede Wrestling was immediate, and he became a star soon upon arrival in 1978, winning the British Commonwealth mid-heavyweight title a couple of occasions, and then also the World Mid-Heavyweight title in 1979. Here's one of Dynamite Kid's first interviews alongside Ed Whalen during 1978 after his victory over Norman Frederick Charles III.
Look out! Up behind! 1, 2, 3! He got him! Oh! How about that? Much to the consternation submission of Norman Frederick Charles. The winner, the Dynamite Kid. Well, Dynamite Kid, there's no question you've got a lot of friends here in a hurry. I think maybe one observation that I might make, I imagine it's an adjustment from British wrestling to North American.
Yes.
Because there's so many people here don't care about the rules.
You're right, it's right there. Over there they have rounds, there's no pulling off the floor, you know. But I've come over here, I've come from England, hoping to get a shot at Nelson Royal's title. But to prove that, today I was talking to Billy Robertson on the telephone, and he said there's only one way to get a shot at the title, that's to beat some of the big names. Sakurata, Kasabubu, Leon Burke. If I can get a go at these men, I'm sure I'll have a chance at the title from Nelson Royal.
Well, I should just mention this Nelson Royal owns the junior heavyweight world title, and of course that's what the Dynamite Kid is looking for at Dynamite. All the best, eh?
Thank you very much.
Okay, the Dynamite Kid.
You have to remember, he's still a teenager here. This is an 18-year-old kid, basically, 17 even when he first arrived, and he's pulling off amazing matches with an amazing moveset that had never been seen before in North American wrestling. Next, we're going to go to an interview with Ed Whalen, alongside his manager at the time, John Foley, because within a year of him starting in Stampede Wrestling, he turned heel. And another big star, Big Daddy Ritter, otherwise known as Junkyard Dog, as Dynamite Kid and Big Daddy Ritter prepare for a tag team match.
Well, I managed to get halfway through a show without seeing you, but here you are.
Hello, Ed. Do you know something? You were looking at Big Daddy Ritter and Dynamite Kid. Well, let me tell you something, Ed. Not the North American champion. You're going to be looking at the World Heavyweight Champion.
The world champion.
And the Junior World Champion. I predict this, and this is what's going to happen.
Hold it. And don't forget that you're the world's greatest manager, too.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I hear we've got Goldie coming in. Archie Goldie, the Stomper. Well, don't you think he's a little old? And also, the other guy, the Frenchman, Don Gagne, is a little round the, what do you call it, round the bend?
You know what happened the last time Gagne was supposed to fight Big Daddy? The boy took off and went home. Now it's too hot. He's digging at the bottom of the barrel. He's bringing out the old crab, the Stomper. John. After they see what the salt and pepper team of the world do tonight, the salt and pepper team, that's what we call ourselves, baby.
Yes, in this tornado match, this is just a stepping stone to the world champions.
I've got a question.
Just a stepping stone.
I've got a question. A lot of people asked, how come the Dynamite Kid doesn't give Bret Hart a shot?
Why
Ed
should he?
Whalen, Bret Hart doesn't deserve a shot. He's no good. He's got no fire. He is not a fighter. And another thing, John Foley doesn't want him to get a shot.
And I want all you people in Great Falls for Sunday night, June the 17th, where we've got a tremendous battle royal. And the money will be shared with my boys and myself. That's in Great Falls, Montana, on Sunday night, June the 17th.
And in that match, money will talk. I
Money
suppose.
does talk.
Yes.
I'd like to say one thing to you, brother. You're dressing nice, you're looking nice, but we need you on our side. Why don't you get on John Foley payroll, and we'll have you in our corner.
Oh,
Hey, we'll make your money, baby. Look at
World's
Stu
best
Hart.
announcer.
The world greatest announcer will make you. Hey, where's that Stu Hart at tonight? Is he hanging around like old dog again, somewhere crawling around, watching his kids?
Yeah, okay.
So you're looking at two new world champions.
Yeah, I know that.
And Ed, if you want to get on my payroll, think about it, because money does talk.
Good luck. Foley, Ritter, Dynamite and Company.
Now, this tag team match taking place in 1979 was with Big Daddy Ritter and Dynamite Kid in what's called a tornado tag match. Again, this was pretty unique at the time in Stampede Wrestling, and they're taking on another massive star, Jake Roberts, and another local star, Terry Sawyers. This had some amazing firepower in this match, but you get a chance to listen to some of it here.
It's called a Turd Ohnato tag. Now 4 men in the ring at one time. Referee Sandy Scott on the outside. Big Daddy Ritter and the Dynamite Kid against Jake Roberts and Terry Sawyer. One fall, and there is no time limit. It's to a finish. There are no disqualifications. And I'll tell you, it's been some terrific tornado, all right, as we near the 10-minute mark. There's Terry Sawyer going after Ritter. Dynamite comes in to join Jake Roberts, and Sawyer knocks Ritter out of contention for a moment. Jake Roberts going against Dynamite. He's thrown right out over the top rope. Right out Dynamite went. And of course, there's no disqualification for that. There's a disqualification for nothing. Double shot. And out goes Ritter on the other side. Jake Roberts is saying more. In comes Dynamite. Dynamite runs into both Roberts and Sawyer. Out he goes again over the top. So the combination of Dynamite Kid and Big Daddy Ritter having problems right here. Roberts with a knee drop to the throat. Dynamite is outside. And there's so much activity, it's difficult, I would think, for the referee to find somebody to count out. We're at the 10-minute mark. Sawyer, about to cover Dynamite, runs instead into Ritter. Ritter, the big man in there at 300 pounds. Roberts at 278.
There is so much more about the career of Dynamite Kid that could be covered. We're going to touch just on these early time points today. We're going to save some for another time. But these are the early time points of 1978, 1979. Of course, we have not yet seen Dynamite start to transition into more of a heavyweight fighter. And then it's time, of course, moving on to WWF, Japan, and then coming back in Stampede Wrestling in 1989. We're all going to try to cover this at a later time. Right now, we're going to move to the interview with Bronwyne Billington, the Dynamite Doll, and you're going to get some great insight into who Dynamite Kid was, how his relationship was with his daughter, and a really heart-touching moment that she explains happened during her time visiting him in the United Kingdom. And here we go with the interview. Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy podcast. We have a sensational guest today. You might say a dynamite guest. This is the Dynamite Doll, Bronwyne Billington, daughter of the Dynamite Kid. How are you this morning, Bronwyne?
I'm very well. Thank you, Corey, for having me.
It's so great to have you on here. We really appreciate your time. I know you've been into wrestling for several years, but of course you were born early in the 80s, I understand, mid-80s, and so you would have been growing up at the time when Dynamite was making it big in the WWF. You must have some early memories of what it was like when Dynamite came home from those long trips.
Yeah, so I was quite young, but he would be coming home, he was 6 weeks on the road in Japan or WWF at the time. And yeah, I have lots of memories being backstage at wrestling shows, and he'd always come home with gifts from Japan. And I mean, Stampede Wrestling, I was really young, so I don't quite remember that. I was just a baby. But yeah, backstage, we'd always be backstage with wrestlers at the WWF shows, and coming home from Japan, he'd always come home with gifts, and he got paid in cash. So I can recall he'd bring home a suitcase full of, he'd get $2,000, something like that, and paid in 20s. And I guess as a little baby, he'd open up his suitcase, and I would just be playing in it and throwing it up in the air, just playing with $2,000. That's how I grew up.
What kind of toys did he bring home for you?
I can remember he'd bring home, and I wish I still kept it because now, of course, it'd be vintage and like a collector's item, but a Hello Kitty backpack that I absolutely loved, just like a little mini backpack. And he would bring kimonos, matching kimonos for my mom and I, and kind of like those Japanese glass dolls, if you know what I mean, like the porcelain dolls.
That's great stuff. That would have been really early in the lifetime of Hello Kitty, too.
That's what I mean. I think I was probably the first in Canada rocking that at school. So I wish that I kept it, but you never know, you know.
Yeah, those are very thoughtful gifts from bring back. So did you ever go on tours with him? Did you travel at all at that young age?
No, I didn't. I was too young, and then my brother is 4 years younger than me, so my mom was busy at home with the little kids at the time, so we didn't travel with him.
Hmm. Now, Dynamite and Davy Boy came back to Stampede around 1988-89. Do you have any memories of any of those shows? Would you have attended any of those?
You know, for some reason, I have no memories of Stampede Wrestling shows, so I don't know. I guess my brother would have just been a baby, so maybe we weren't really going. But, I mean, I can just remember the people and the times and, you know, being up at Stu Hart's house and, yeah, like seeing my dad on TV. But I don't remember ever watching the shows live for some reason. I can remember being backstage more.
And I know you're extremely knowledgeable about wrestling in general. I know you have some favorite matches of Dynamite. I remember once before you talked about his matches in MSG and with Japan, Tiger Mask. Can you tell us about, was there one particular match that was your absolute favorite?
I think it was the first ever 5-star match that David Meltzer labeled. It was the first ever 5-star match he gave 5 stars to. Sorry, I just said that 3 times. But yeah, that was against Tiger Mask in the Sumo Hall show, and that was 1986, was it? I believe.
I think so, either 85 or 86, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was just incredible. It's really hard to come by on the internet as well. Luckily, I have my sources, and I do have it downloaded on my computer, but that's an awesome match. The crowd is just so into it, and my dad's just giving it his all and, you know, just being thrown into the barricades, and those two were just way ahead of their time, my dad and Tiger Mask.
It's amazing how far they're ahead of the time, at least 15 or 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that those kind of matches would have gotten more mainstream press. I mean, obviously Dave Meltzer, really wrestling aficionados know about those matches, but a lot of other people will never ever see that match, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then during the 80s, looking back, did you have any favorite matches for Dynamite in the WWF?
I really loved, he had a match against Macho Man Randy Savage. So being one of my favorite all-time wrestlers, that one's really special to me. I think that's super awesome. It was a short match. It was in the Wrestling Classic pay-per-view. What's it called? Wrestling Classic?
You're absolutely right. It was Wrestling Classic. That was a tournament.
Yeah, and he had 3 matches, I believe, that night. And the Macho Man one, I think, was only a 6-minute match, but they packed a lot in that 6 minutes. And, yeah, just one of my all-time favorites, so I'm pretty proud of that. And, of course, WrestleMania 2 with Ozzy Osbourne walking out to the ring with the British Bulldogs is really incredible to me.
Yeah, that was awesome when Ozzy was part of that. Ozzy actually wanted to be with the Bulldogs, right?
Yeah, as I understood, he actually contacted Vince and said he wanted to walk out with them. So he must have been a fan, and I think that's super cool, me being like, I'm into rock and roll music. So that's a pretty awesome highlight for my dad's career for me.
That was a great moment. And that match in Chicago for the Wrestling Classic, I still remember there was a suplex off the top.
Yeah.
And both Dynamite and Randy Savage went up into the air, and then Randy locked him into a small package. I still remember that to the day, how amazing that move was.
Yeah, I can picture it in my head right now.
Such a great match. And then, of course, Dynamite and Davey had some fantastic matches with the Hart Foundation. They had such great chemistry. Did you have any kind of particular tag team matches that you really stick out in your head?
You know, I don't know any particular match between those 4, but all of them, because they had so much chemistry, and they all trained in the dungeon, and like we're all brother-in-laws. So it was really special and magical, and I just love watching any of those matches. Even Stampede Wrestling, Brett against my dad. Those are some really good early on matches as well.
Now, I think in 87, it's when Dynamite got injured. He had a back injury, and they had to drop the titles to the Hart Foundation. The injury, I think, took place in a match with Morocco and Orton, if I remember. Did your mom or anyone ever tell you some stories about what happened there?
You know, not really, no. Maybe at the time I would have been really little, so I just don't remember. But I know that it was just, you know, I see those videos on the internet, and I know it was years of intake as well on the body, so yeah, it's just hard to watch those. It
would be, yeah. Was Dynamite home for a period of time when he was rehabbing?
He was, yes.
That must have been very hard for him because he was always so active. He wrestled so many times a year. To be down and not be able to be active for a year at a time. Must have been terrible.
And of course, and it's the same with today's wrestling. As soon as you're out, you're worried about your spot when you come back in. So they certainly were, or he certainly was rushing to get back in and wasn't ready.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Now, do you ever watch any of the old Stampede footage with Dynamite Kid? For example, he had some great matches with Bad News Allen, great matches with Robbie Stewart.
I watch a little bit, not in full, just because it's been harder to come across. I think it's easier now to access, but yeah, people certainly always send me little clips, so I've seen a lot of that.
Absolutely. If there's any clips you're ever interested in getting, I have a huge database of Dynamite matches, and I've got a lot of his recordings through Stampede.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. See, now it's easier to come by. Before it was impossible.
Yeah, the internet's made that a lot easier, and things like YouTube have helped out too, of course. Mm-hmm. So in terms of Dynamite, I know that you went to visit him sometime through the mid-90s. How was that visit to the UK?
Yeah, so we went, my brother and I went, I think that was 96, 95 or 96, summer going into grade 6 for me. And so I was 10 and my brother was 7 or so. And yeah, so we hadn't seen my dad since he left when my parents split. And that summer was the most time I've ever spent with my father in my whole life. Like, it was the whole summer we went out there. And it was the best summer. I just have so many positive memories from that trip, and I'm really glad we got to do that.
That must have been amazing after being away from him for a few years.
Yes. So I started acting out in school, and my mom went to my Uncle Brett, and she was crying. She's like, yeah, she's acting out in school. Like, I think she misses her dad. And so my Uncle Brett helped out and used, like, his frequent flyers or whatever and sent us out there. So that's something I'll never forget, and I'll always be really appreciative that Brett did that for us.
How long were you out there for? Were you there for a month or so?
We were there like the whole summer, like the 2 months.
Oh, wow, a whole summer.
Yeah. And back then we could fly alone. So I was 10 and my brother was 7. Mm-hmm. My sister was just born, and my sister has asthma, so she couldn't come because my mom was too worried letting her go with asthma and stuff.
Did you go out with your father to do things around the neighborhoods in that area, or how did you spend your time during that summer?
Yeah, we did. He had a job. He worked at like overnight security for like a junkyard type thing, and his house backed onto the junkyard. So he had 2 Rottweilers that lived with him. They're part of the job as well, security dogs. And their names were Thunder and Storm, and we just absolutely loved them. So we would go sometimes with my dad to the junkyard, and we'd play hide and go seek with the dogs because they were trained to sniff people out. So I'd be like, I'd have the one dog, my brother would have the other dog, and we'd find each other. So that was super fun. My dad tried to do all kinds of normal kid activities with us. Take us to friends' houses for barbecues. I remember we went to his one friend's house, and then he was like, the next night his friend was going to the Cranberries concert. So he's like, do you want to go with him? And I was only 10, and like I loved that kind of music. Like, that was really popular at the time in the 90s. But I was like, I don't know this guy, Dad. Like, I'd rather just stay with you. So I didn't go to the concert, but his friend brought me back a T-shirt. Things like that. He had a girlfriend at the time, and she took me shopping, and she made sure to take me on a double-decker bus and took us swimming, and just normal family activities, visiting other family members, cousins.
Sounds like a great UK experience.
Yeah, I'm sure we ate fish and chips and.
So Dynamite was actually working. I was not aware of that before. So he actually was working at the time.
Didn't know that. I don't know how long he worked there for, but I just know he worked there that summer. Mm-hmm. And that girlfriend he was with at the time, I really loved her. They weren't together much longer, I think, after. But I almost would love to contact her and ask her some questions because she could fill in some blanks for me. Mm-hmm.
So during that time, you must have had some good relationship or good conversations with him. Did he open up to you at all?
Not really. I think I was too young to really be asking any serious questions at that time. Mm-hmm. Like about why did you leave or wrestling or anything like that. I think it was pretty basic at the time. Basic level conversations.
And after you came back to Canada, did you stay in touch with him regularly? Yeah,
so we would call from the house, my mom's house phone, and she would get us to call every Sunday because it was cheaper to call on Sundays or something like that. So we'd always call every Sunday. All of us kids would get together. My mom would be the one to call and get him on the phone first, and we'd pass the phone around and talk to him. My sister included, who never actually met my father.
Did you make another trip back about 10 years later or so?
Yes, it was. I think it was actually 15 years later.
How'd that second trip go?
It went really good. That's kind of when Facebook came about, and so I reconnected with my family on Facebook. My dad moved around a lot, and changed his phone number all the time, and then once I hit 18, I started questioning things, so we kind of lost touch for a bit there. So when Facebook came around, I was able to reach out to my cousins, and I decided to plan a trip to go out there to see them. And then I was like, if I get the guts, I'll also go see my dad. But I wasn't sure if I was going to fall through with it. So I went out there, and the first night I was with my cousins, my aunt, my uncle, and my aunt told me that when my dad moved back from Canada, he stayed with her for a while, and he was like really depressed at first, and he was just staring at our family photos on the wall and would just cry. So that right there was what I needed to hear. I was like, oh my God, he did care. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that's all I needed. I'm going to go see him tomorrow. Because I just never knew that, you kind of wondered, like, do you even care that you left us type of thing? So that next day I went to go see him. My cousin took me to see him, and he was super surprised, super happy, couldn't stop smiling. And then from that day on, I went just a little bit more every day to go see him, because it was, first my cousin came with me, and then I think he came again the next day, and then the next day he dropped me off and left me alone for a while, and then the next, the day after that we stayed even longer, and it just got more and more each day. Just had to get comfortable again, and it was really great.
What kind of things did you talk about during that time? Did you talk about career or mostly family?
A little bit of everything, yeah. We talked a little bit about wrestling, family. I had a 2-year-old daughter at the time. My first daughter, she was 2 at the time, so that was his first grandchild. So I showed him pictures and just showed him pictures of the family, and kept it pretty light, I think. But it was on the 4th day or something like that. We actually, if you've watched Dark Side and seen the moment that we shared together, he actually did apologize to me. He just said, I'm sorry. We both cried, and I knew exactly what he meant, and he didn't have to say anything more, and it was all I needed, and it was really beautiful.
Yeah, that must have been really heartwarming.
It was.
He must have been ecstatic to see his grandchildren pictures at least. Did he ever have any interactions with his grandchildren?
No, I don't even think we Skyped at all, because my dad, he just had like an old flip phone, so he wouldn't even be able to Skype or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I just sent pictures, and, before my dad passed away, he found out that my brother got married, and he was just over the moon, like so happy. I mailed him pictures of his wedding photos, and my uncle told me that he couldn't stop staring at those photos, just smiling. He was just so proud of his son.
Yeah, amazing moment. So for you and yourself in your own career, back in, I think it was 2012, you were involved in Next Generation Wrestling in Calgary. That was kind of like a Teddy Hart promotion with AAA. Was that your first role in wrestling?
Yes, I do believe it was 2013, but it might have been, I think it was in January, so it was just freshly 2013. But and that first show, they did like a Stampede Wrestling tribute to all the Stampede wrestlers, so all their family got to walk around the ring, and just, they kind of introduced everyone, like, this is, Bad News Allen's family, this is, Dynamite Kid's family, and everyone just kind of waved, and so it was me and my mom and my daughter, Miami. I think it was just the 3 of us. And so that show, I was like, okay, because it was Stampede Wrestling, I'm like, I'll do this for my dad. So I stood ringside for the Battle Royal. And after that, I had so much fun that I was like, yeah, I'm coming back and doing the next show. I just got the bug right then and there. Just Backstage was so much fun, and I just felt like I belonged, and so many people had stories to tell me about my dad, and yeah, it was a really great vibe.
And there was so much great talent at that show. There was Brian Cage, the Young Bucks.
Yeah, there's so many people now, like on AEW, that I'm like, hey, I did a show with them at Heart Legacy.
Yeah, there were so many stars at that show. And then it had a couple more shows, and then it kind of petered out. Yeah. I think there were some financial problems behind the scenes. And then more recently, you've been involved in Real Canadian Wrestling, RCW.
Yes.
Tell us about your roles there and how much you're involved with RCW.
Well, so I've had my second child, she's 2 now, so I hadn't been involved very much, obviously, because I just had her, and then COVID's been a thing, the pandemic. So I really haven't been involved the last 2 years now. I think it was June, shows started back up, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to get in there, and I'm getting back to it. But I just haven't yet because of the pandemic, and things have just taken kind of a weird turn, and, I lost my job during the pandemic, and I have 2 kids, so I've just been really busy. But I've been doing other things, like I've been doing a lot of podcasts, and I started up an official Instagram page for my dad. Been working on a lot of merchandise. I'm just waiting for things to feel a little more normal. Things feel weird right now still at wrestling shows, but I'm hoping to get back in there soon. And yeah.
But you're busy with family too. You've got young children.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just busy. Searching for a job right now is a full-time job in itself. So. And right now with the wrestling shows, like they were only allowed, like at one time, I think it was in the summer, they were only allowed 100 people per show because of the restrictions. So they were running every Friday, and that's just too much for me to commit to right now with 2 kids and a young kid. But yeah, once they go back to once a month, I think I'll be in there.
Mm-hmm. And you've traveled a little bit around Western Canada, and I think you were at some shows in the UK as well. How were those shows you participated in over the pond?
They were pretty fun. Yeah, they were just small local shows. But like I was with my cousin Harry, so that was really awesome. That was something that was on my bucket list, baby bulldogs over in the UK. So I was really proud to do that. Yeah, they were fun. I would certainly do it again.
I've noticed on YouTube that there are some, I think they're your cousins, the Billingtons. Yes. And man, they've got some fantastic moves. They look like Dynamite in the ring. One of them, in fact, looks like a copy of Dynamite when he was younger.
Know. Yeah, and his name is Thomas as well. He was named after my dad, so.
Have you had interactions with them?
I have. I haven't seen them. So the last time I went to England, they would have been pretty young. Maybe like 9-ish, 8 and 9 or something, I think, the last time I was there. But yeah. I'm excited to see their careers blossom. Of course, the pandemic put a hold on their training as well, but it looks like they're doing shows again over there, so that's really exciting for them.
Yeah, I hope they do really well. I hope they can catch on with somebody like Rev Pro, for example, or somebody in UK that can elevate their careers.
Yeah, and even they'd love to come over here. That'd be super cool. So.
Excellent. Have you actually watched some of their matches online?
I have, yes.
Does it give you a chill down your spine when you see them wrestle? It did for me.
It does, yeah, and everyone says that. Like, everyone feels it, too, so it is crazy, and I hope that they can go far.
Amazing. So other than being a wrestling fan, I know you're also a metal fan. You're a big fan of Fozzy, Kiss, Marilyn Manson, right?
Yes.
What drew you to that? I mean, you missed the Cranberries concert, obviously, but what drew you to the metal music? Was there a time when somebody took you to a concert? Or?
I think, yeah, it was in the 90s, actually, after my mom's boyfriend, after my dad had left, he was in a rock band. And that was just the era when, like, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and all those bands were really big, Stone Temple Pilots, like the grunge era. So I was into all that. Like, I had all the CDs. I still have my whole CD, Courtney Love, I absolutely love. From when I was in grade 5, I still have that CD. So I think it was just that time that I grew up in.
Well, it was a great time. There's lots of great music throughout the 90s.
And I did, actually, my uncle Brett took us to a Soundgarden concert as well, and we got to meet them. So that was pretty special. Got to meet Chris Cornell.
That would be amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite music at the moment? What's your favorite new music that's coming out?
I'm always I'm actually kind of weird because I'll get into old music, and that's new to me. So actually yesterday I just watched the Leonard Skinner documentary on Netflix, so that's what I've been listening to all day. And I'm like, I'm looking for an old retro t-shirt, and I want all the old 70s stuff. That's what I'm listening to right now.
Wow, that's classic Freebird stuff from the mid-70s. That's hillbilly rock.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into newer music. It's weird. Like, I'll just pull up old things, and that's my jam for the month.
Have you ever seen Fozzy live?
I haven't. No, I really want to, of course. I'm sure I will in the future here. I think they're on tour. Obviously, they're not coming to Canada, but maybe when things get better here, they will.
I've noticed that a lot of his concert dates actually correlate with AEW times recently.
Yeah, we were looking at that too, because we weren't sure when he had that match against MJF if his dates land on Dynamite, then he's going to lose this match. But they didn't land on the same day, so.
So what do you think about the current wrestling products? Do you have certain promotions that you appreciate more than others right now?
Yeah, we're just super into AEW. It was fresh and just something new to watch. So, of course, I don't have all the time in the world to keep up with every promotion. So, yeah, we've been managing to do Dynamite every week, and now we're trying to watch Rampage on Fridays. I have been watching more NXT just because I have a couple of friends in it that I like to watch. So, yeah, we love AEW.
Yeah, AEW's got a nice fresh product, good storylines, lots of great wrestlers.
Well, it's really hot right now.
Darby Allin, fantastic talent. MGF.
Jungle Boy.
Yep, Jungle Boy as well. And then you mix in people like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, and they've got some fantastic upcoming matches.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Do you prefer more of the high-flying aerialists like your father, or do you prefer more ground-based wrestling? Do you have a...
I really do. I like the high-flying, of course.
So what do you think about Dante Martin?
Dante Martin, yeah, they're good. Or he's good. I think his brother's injured right now, isn't he? So
he is, but Dante Martin, it's amazing. His leap ability is over that of NBA players. It must be. It's just fantastic.
I don't remember his name in AEW. I still call him Evan Bourne, but I really like him too.
Right, Matt Sydal. Yeah.
Thank you.
Another excellent talent for sure.
Sometimes once they're one name, I'm like, no, they're just always that to me. Like 1-2-3 Kid. He's 1-2-3 Kid to me.
Of course. Now, given that you've been involved with RCW, do you ever see a time when territories can make a run again? We're seeing WWF cut back on their touring schedule, for example. Do you think you'll see some territories start to develop more so now?
Oh, gosh. I don't know with this pandemic right now. It's really affecting everything. So let's just get through that first.
Right.
That would be awesome, though, because I think WWE won't even come to Calgary anymore, right?
I don't think they've been in, what, two and a half years? It's been
the
a long
last
time.
show they came, I think that was their last one, so.
Yeah, they were in Vancouver last February for a SmackDown show, but that's the last time they've been through any of this area.
Yeah.
Right. So in terms of your children, I know your children are very young, of course, but do you encourage them to look at wrestling? Yes.
Actually, well, my eldest is 13, and you know, she's already like, what am I going to do with my life? And she's like, I don't want to just do anything. Like, I don't want to do anything boring. I want to do something fun. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And she's always been pretty athletic. This was just like a month ago, and she's like, I think I want to wrestle. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, she always did gymnastics. So I was like, let's get you back in gymnastics. Maybe you want to do like a little acting class, like maybe even dance or something, you know, and eventually you can put those all together and work towards wrestling. So, and I was actually thinking of talking to Natty about that and just seeing where she should start, or she's 13. It's never too early probably. But yeah, just where I should start her.
Well, if you just look at Harry Smith, how old was Harry when he first started? I think he was wrestling matches 12 or 13.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember him wrestling a match once when I think he was 15 at the time, and he was in the ring.
TJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was even younger, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you're interested in things like MMA and, let's say, gymnastics, those are great kind of segues to going into wrestling nowadays.
Yeah, and she's always been good at acting as well, so.
Do you ever show her any of the old Dynamite Tiger Mask matches?
Yes. When she was younger, she used to eat her cereal, and she'd be like, can you put on Grandpa's matches? And she used to watch those.
Oh, that must be incredible to watch that now.
Yeah.
So, are there any things you'd like to put in a plug for, or things that you're participating at this time? Are you thinking about doing any personal podcasts or being involved in any upcoming events?
Yeah, just started the official Dynamite Kid Instagram page. So if you want to go give that a follow, that would be great. Just trying to post really unique kind of family photos that I have that haven't really been seen. And then, yeah, we have merchandise. We started a new Wrestle Merch Central. It's out of the UK, so that's really great for our UK fans. So we got a bunch of t-shirt designs on there. And then Pro Wrestling Tees we still have going. There's going to be a few figures coming out soon, so just if you follow my Instagram page, you'll see when those release dates are.
Oh, wow, action figures for Dynamite.
Yeah, Junk Shop Dog is doing a Sofubi line, so those should be ready soon. They're coming out soon. I've been working closely with them, and they're just awesome.
That's amazing. How about a Matilda doll?
Yeah, we need a Matilda doll. There isn't anything in the works right now.
Not yet. Well, he was into Rottweilers at the end.
Yes, yeah. I loved those dogs. I missed them. Thunder and Storm. Thunder was a big fat one. He was my favorite.
Do you have the tag for the Instagram so listeners can go check that out?
It's just official Dynamite Kid.
Official Dynamite Kid. Excellent. Good. We'll see if we can find that. Put a link up on our site.
Perfect. Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you so much for your time today. That was great being able to speak to you and hear some old Dynamite stories.
Yes, thank you so much.
Best of luck for you and your family in your future.
Thank you. You too, Corey.